Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first One Dharma Center Sunday online service. We missed you so much every day from 11 to 12 o'clock. We pray for your safety, for your well-being, and especially for those who are sick with the coronavirus, or for some people who are very anxious. I'd like to start my today's talk with some story about some Christian missionary who's right now working in Mongolia. Reverend Dr. Rev.Yoo had a PhD degree of Western history from Harvard University. Instead of having scholarship in some distinguished universities in States, he decided his mind to go to Mongolia to spread the gospel of Jesus. After he started to work in Mongolia for several years, he was very fun. He's just doing what he loved to do, but his wife started to have some problems, some mental problems. It's not just the level of depression. She usually worked behind the scene very hard, taking care of all the chores. And she started to become very sick. And eventually, some years later, she started to see things and hear things. For example, one day when she went to the high building, she heard the voice, jump, jump, jump from the building. She's a very highly educated person. She knew it's just of her mind's creation. But she very clearly heard that type of voice on and off. She got the help from psychologist or psychiatrist, but it didn't work well. One day she joined the Bible study session, which continued for several weeks. And she very clearly realized the root of her problem, why she came to have that type of mental sickness. It was self-pity. She always thought that she always had to work very hard and nobody approves her. Nobody is thankful for her hard work, even though her husband was respected a lot. So especially when she read the Bible passage, the frequently quoted one, the Galatians, I have been crucified with Christ, and it is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. So the life I now live in the body, I live because of the faithfulness of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. So she recognized the root of her problem was self-pity, but the foundation of her self-pity originated from her sense of self, from her ego. Since her ego was strongly alive, she would like to become praised, approved, etc. So after she clearly recognized the root of her problem and tried to eliminate her ego, her mental problem started to diminish drastically. Just like the earth moves around the sun, think about our thoughts or emotions or our impulses that arise on a daily basis. They all moves around our sense of a self. The center is always I, my, me, etc. So just like all kinds of weeds grow from the ground, our notion of selfhood, our sense of self is the root of all our attachments as well as grasping. So think about what is the root cause of our jealousy or disappointment, low self-esteem, inferiority complex, or conceit, or pride, etc. The root is always our sense of self. This is the story you have heard many times. Haga is the second patriarch of the Chinese Zen Buddhism. When he was young, he was very well-known Confucian scholar. One day, he would like to become a very serious practitioner. He paid a visit to Bodhidharma, the first patriarch of Chinese Zen Buddhism. He was just meditating inside the cave, as the story goes. So Haga, in front of the cave, waited for a very long time. Finally, he could ask this question to the master. Master, my mind is not calm. Please pacify my mind. Please put my mind to rest. Then the master Bodhidharma asked, then bring me your disturbed mind. The Haga hesitated for a moment how to show his uneasy, disturbed mind. And he replied, I searched for my uneasy mind, but I could not show that to you. Then the master replied, then I already put your mind to rest. At the moment, it is said, Haga had his first awakening. The lesson of this story is when we realize the nature, the true nature of our mind or our original nature, then we can be free from all our anxieties and worries and all kinds of sufferings. So realizing our original mind, our true self, is usually called enlightenment in Buddhism. Buddhism, the world itself is the translated word for Rev.Yoo, which literally means in the Chinese, the path to enlightenment. So let's think about today, who am I? What is my mind? We usually identify ourselves with our body or our mind. For example, when I say I'm fat, I lost some weight. Here, I means this body. Or when I say I'm smart, I'm tired, or I'm unhappy, etc. In that context, I means my mind. So let's think about the nature of this body as well as our mind. So, what is the nature of this body? When you look at the photo that was taken 20, 30 years ago, you look very different. You look very young. Each and every moment, our body is constantly changing. For example, all the cells in your stomach as well as in your intestines, after 6 months, not any cell remain the same. And each and every moment, each and every cell is born and die constantly. And this body depends on what we eat, what we drink, what we breathe, etc. In other words, this body cannot exist in and of itself. It's dependently arising, and it's constantly changing. It's a momentary and conditional existence. How about our mind? Mind is just a concept or a name for our sensations, perceptions, impulses, or consciousness. Or our mind can be divided like thoughts, emotions, various kinds of consciousness. So whatever thoughts or emotion they are, it's always constantly changing. Probably in the first session of our meditation, you may have some itching, for example, on your shoulder, but you may say, wow, I had that itching sensation for 15 minutes. But the truth is, each and every moment, each and every session, that itching, the intensity or the sensation is constantly changing. You may say, wow, yesterday I was angry for the whole day, but each and every moment, the intensity, the quality of that anger is constantly changing. So whether it's emotions or thoughts or impulses or whatever kind of consciousness, they arise and it's a momentary existence, just like this voice or wind. And how your thoughts arise or how your emotions arise. For example, when my ear come in contact with the news that broadcast the wide spreading of the coronavirus, when my ear come in contact with the sound of the news, some worries arise or some thoughts arise. Or Helen brought Hemi, our cat, 2 weeks ago from her house. So, and my eye, come in contact with the Hemi, some thoughts arise, some happy feelings arise. So whether it's thoughts, emotions, or whatever types of consciousness, it arises depending on causes and conditions. When our sixth sense organs come in contact with the sixth sense objects, form, sound, smell, etc., then some form of consciousness or thoughts arise. So just like this body, our mind itself is a conditional thing. It arises and ceases constantly. So where does this sound come from? Does this sound come from my right hand or left hand? Or from the air? Or from your ear or mind? Where did that sound originate? Right hand, left hand air, your mind, and your eardrum, etc. When all things come in together, then you could hear this sound. The same can be applied to your seeing, hearing, thinking, etc. Nothing exists in and of itself. It does not have any inherent, unchanging substance. In that sense, the ultimate reality in Buddhism is called emptiness or sunyata. So at the beginning of the Heart Sutra, we usually chant the Heart Sutra. We chant on Sunday service. The first passage says, when Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, when he realized the 5 aggregates, our body and mind, but sensations, perceptions, impulses, and consciousness in our body. When these 5 aggregates are empty, the original Sanskrit means kasva bhava sunya. It means empty of, devoid of self-substance. In short, it's translated as everything are empty. He became free from all suffering and distress. So most of the people think or just believe there is some invisible, unchanging entity behind our experience. For example, casually we say, my mind or my body. What does that mean? We presuppose some entity, whether you call that spirit or soul, where your body and mind belongs. But 5 aggregates are empty means we are the aggregate or the heap of our body and mind. Our sense of self, our notion of selfhood, just a sheer illusion. It's just a mental construct. So I somewhat intellectually explained this, but through deep contemplation and meditation, you have to see into this empty reality of ourselves. My teacher used this analogy. So let's just pause. You are given one onion in order to realize what the real nature of onion, or the essence of onion. So you peel the onion layer by layer in order to know the core of that onion or onionness. So eventually, what do you see? Nothing is there. Onion is just a collection, aggregates of all these layers. It can be exactly applied in the same way to our body and mind. I heard this story from one very respected Dharma teacher. There was one white tiger. It's a white and a very rare species, a very expensive one. As it grew bigger, the zookeeper decided it should be moved to a bigger zoo, which had a lot of a very spacious tiger sanctuary. When the white tiger was moved to that new zoo, which has a lot of quarters with a big pond, some artificial mountain, etc. When the tiger was released, it shot itself to the corners of that sanctuary in front of the cage. For the remaining of its years, it restlessly wandered about 12 by 12 foot area. Eventually, that small 12 by foot area was wrong, bare of grass. Even though that white tiger could play and enjoy its life in the spacious sanctuary, he locked himself in that small, invisible cell. How about your life? We all are imprisoned in our sense of a self. We also are shackled in that invisible prison. They say in Hinduism, our body and mind, our self, is called Maya, which literally means illusion or deception. Since it's just a darkness, when we see into our original mind, for that we chanted Namo Amitabha, limitless light. That when the light is on, that darkness, the ego will disappear, along with our suffering and distress. So my teacher told me, ego is not the object of hatred. Ego is not a sin or a transgression. It's just a misunderstanding where you are very heavily hooked up. So through meditation and deep contemplation, we needed to dispel that darkness. During this coronavirus crisis, you may have a lot of time to meditate or to contemplate. To see into our true nature, we need to contemplate the Heart Sutra or Ilwan Sangwa or any types of koan cases. During the winter time, all the trees shed their leaves and conserve the energy into its root. That's why in the spring, it will sprout and grow again in a very healthy way. Probably this coronavirus is giving a good lesson. It's a time to go back to our root, to our real origin, something we have forgotten or missed for a very, very long time. I will read a couple of pretty well-known quotation, and you tell me who said this. For attractive lips speak words of kindness. For lovely eyes seek out the good in people. For a slim figure, share your food with the hungry. Do you know who said these sentences? Do you know who said this? It's said by Audrey Hepburn, the famous actress. They say she has very beautiful lips and a slim figure and the beautiful eyes. Audrey Hepburn did not have a very happy childhood. Literally, she was almost starved to death several times. One day, when she ate the food provided by the unique chef, she was so grateful. And she thought to herself, someday I also would like to help some hungry children. But anyway, she became very famous and forgot what she thought when she was a leader. She's a very beautiful, famous actress and fashion icon, but just like so many other regular people, her personal life had many challenges and difficulties. As she grew old, she's not that valued as a good actress. One day, she joined one benefit concert that was held in Macau, in Spain. She was very much surprised. A lot of money was collected in her name. So she thought to herself, wow, I can use my name. Because of this name, I can collect a lot of money to help the children in Africa. She recollected the food she ate when she was a leader, the food that's provided by UNICEF. Sometime later, she called to the UNICEF. I will work at the UNICEF. So you need to give me a salary on a regular basis. $1 in a year is enough for me. She stopped acting. She did not working as an actor in the movie anymore. And she, from her remaining years, she helped children in Africa as well as in South America. And eventually, she caught the colon cancer and died because of her overwork. For attractive lips speak words of her kindness. For lovely eyes seek out the good in people. For slim figure, share your food with the hungry. This is what she said to her 2 children before she died. This is how she lived. So during this coronavirus crisis, you may have a lot of time. So you can, this is very a precious chance for us to live a second life. If you plant the seed of a great vow, I would like to attain great enlightenment for the benefit of all people, then you can have a far more meritorious, a far more beautiful life than already happened after this crisis. I have a friend who is a Christian pastor who we went to same Christian church. And when he was a sophomore in regular college, he had a cancerous tumor. To make a long story short, he fasted, prayed a lot, and recovered his health. So one day I happened to meet in that church, and I asked, I already knew he decided his mind to go to the seminary. So what made you decide to become a Christian pastor? He told me. I just thought because he recovered from his incurable disease by the grace of God, he decided it's a new path. But what he told me really ran in my mind. He told me it is because I discovered the eternal life. So let's think about where we have come from, where we are going, who we really are. So it sounds like a very philosophical or metaphysical problem. But when we realize these things, when we realize who we really are, then the universe will guide us. We happen to be in the place which is very safe and sanitary. We happen to be avoid the people who are sick with the coronavirus, the universe will become a great provider and helper. So during holiday is not for us to be blocked. It's for us to overcome. So let's use this precious opportunity to strengthen our vow, strengthen our practice. Thank you. And our IT minister told me to grow this kind of online streaming service. You're hitting the button, subscribe is very important. So see you next Sunday.